Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Two Cups of Coffee. I understand that it's half term at the moment, and I hope you guys are doing well. We have a guest speaker on today. She is a master's student at LAU. Say hi.
Hello, I'm Dayoung. I studied in LAU Fine Art for my bachelor in 2017 and then finished it this summer. And I progressed into graphic design on MA.
You are living the postgraduate life now.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to be honest.
Well, what do you mean by that?
The things we learn is is more about graphic design, but still we have to be conceptually interested in, I don't know, things like philosophy and all that. but yeah, but also like it's also similar in the sense that like in the third year of fine art um is like you are encouraged to be very independent, so we hardly ever have any tutorials every, like we only have it every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. um and rest is all just on me. And it's kind of similar. I mean, we get more support in MA than that, but it's still very independently driven.
So, what eventually caused you to make the leap from fine art to graphic design?
So I discovered that I'm more of a visually oriented person than a philosopher. So yeah, um, I love just making things look a lot more organized and visually nice. So that's why I changed. Also, I met a friend last year this time who is a graphic designer, and she said I would really like this. And I tried a bit of making this and that, like graphic design works, and I really liked it too. So, yeah, that's how I changed.
And how is that looking now, as we're nearing half term and we're nearing
Mm-hmm.
the end of the first term? How are you finding it so far? Do you feel the pressure at times?
Not really, but not that I'm pretty fine.
Well, it's good to hear
Yeah.
because when you reach half term, I usually experience things like burning outs and just the stress on my mind. Has the fact that you're feeling fine, is it come as a surprise to you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, like given how things are going at the moment and the things that happened, I'm quite surprised that I'm at this state of my mind.
Well, I mean that's a really good thing. This burnout tends to take a toll on our health
Yeah.
and just dealing with
Mm.
all the stress of work, but also in personal life. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
how did you used to deal with the struggles of stressing out over academics and your life as a student?
I mean, I can't really remember that well, but I think I just bottled up a lot because, like, back then I didn't really have hobby, um, and I didn't really have friends whom I could share my heart with. I don't even know how I survived those times. I think I thought it was normal, so I kind of took it on and thought nothing was that much of a deal, only to have nocturnal panic attacks every now and then. Yeah, I was pretty bad at handling my stress. I mean, I still am, but like a bit better now.
I can wholeheartedly agree because I struggle with it often. Usually, I don't like conflict, so when I get riled up, I just bottle things up inside, and it has
Yeah.
destructive consequences. At what point did you sort of realize that it wasn't working for you? This idea of just penting it up inside and not telling everybody.
Mm. Well, just over time, as I had good friends, like somehow I met really good friends and I hung around with them a lot more. I had friends, but they had like really big issues going on in their lives, so they couldn't really make time for me outside school as well. So I used to stay in uni like for a really long time. But at some point, I sort of realized maybe just seeing that others don't work as much, that helped me to just let go of it more.
I think think it's a great thing that you have done that. And I think also
Mm.
compounded with the fact that you've seen how students have reacted. I think people are taking things like stress and mental health a lot more seriously.
Yeah, I don't think I would have survived this time without my friends. Like, in that sense, you could say that I'm a very dependent person, but honestly, like, I would have not survived this time without my friends, genuinely.
Were you approached, or did you try to find a way to approach people?
Um, I it just sort of happened, but I was very vulnerable with them. Like, I didn't hide away my problems, and that's how we grew closer. Knowing that they also are in one way or another. Um, yeah, I think that's how friendships grow.
It does sound. It sounds like a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, but at some point, like, you kind of enjoy that as well. Like, once you experience that, and once you're in a safe relationship to sort of share that much. Yeah, through church sometimes, also through Christian Union, but also just like meeting in uni as well.
And how did this come about for you? For me, I remember on my end when I was in first year, I felt really lonely because I wasn't a lot of friendship groups, and I remember it got to a point where I personally didn't even want to leave university. I think it was just after a series of events after the other, and when it got to like 7 in the evening, I just stayed inside, and I was like, I don't even want. I feel so lonely, and not really being able to be vulnerable to the point where I didn't want to leave the university.
That's really sad. Ah,
Yeah, it was definitely a flee of the moment thing, but
yeah.
like you said, I had to take the steps to go out and find people and just talk to them, and I think that's a huge part in any friendship. And luckily, the first people I said I realized I needed help was the Christian Union and my friends at church who were there to help me. You know,
I'm glad you found good people, or like the people you get along with to to share your life.
some of these things just happen in ways I can never really understand. When people say, "Oh, I have to do work," or "I have to," we tend to get bogged down by stress and work that's physical. I think now then when people are like, "Oh, how are you?" Really, it's hard.
Sometimes the phrase "How are you?" seem very hypocritic, and also like people ask me when I pass them by on like in the corridor, and if I say, "Oh, I'm doing terrible," then they'll feel bad to not stop, like not stop where they were going, and then it would just become a long conversation, and I don't want to waste their time. But if I say I'm good even when I'm doing terrible, well, that's kind of fake as well and not being authentic.
Yeah, there's this fear that we have to step over is a huge thing. But I think also as well, there are a lot of factors that contribute to a person's well-being. I'm sure you probably heard of like the concept of like three factors of your health. Your physical health, your spiritual health, and your mental health. And you can't really survive without the other. You did mention, you also made friends at church and those within your like Christian background. How do you feel like being in those spaces affect uh, affected your mental health, be it negatively or positively?
Well, first of all, like I know that a lot of people I meet at church will never intentionally use whatever I share with them to to attack me or like to put me in a difficult position, and that we are always told to help one another. So in that sense, like even before I shared my mental health with them, I did definitely trust them with like well, I just really trusted them that they are the safe place for me to talk about a lot of things. And also, I mean, it kind of depends from a person to person and a Christian community to a Christian community. But the community I've been involved in, we encourage a lot to talk about what we're struggling with, like not to the point that I have to squeeze out and say something absurd, but like people are always very prepared to listen to you, and I think that has massively helped me to see my problems from a different perspective, and also just to pay attention to it and not run away from them.
I've had the same experiences as you have. I'm gonna be honest, every single time I go there, it's either saying something that convicts me or makes me stop and think about myself. Which
What
is,
kind of questions do they ask?
well, I mean, they usually are the ones that sort of hit home. They ask nowadays. But I think for a long time Christians have had the idea of you can't love your neighbors or people around you unless you love yourself. And although one of the things that like they talk about are things like humility and sort of the idea of looking at yourself and around you and thinking we're sort of told to reflect on ourselves and think what pushes us throughout the day.
Yeah, like I definitely learned how to love myself ever since I became a Christian, and also like I learned to really wholeheartedly embrace um, my own free will, and I think they massively helped my well-being.
Learning how to love yourself is a hard it's a hard step.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey, definitely.
Yeah. What's the earliest or like the most recent memory you can recall of like it just helping you? Like for me, I remember just
Mm.
going on a camp with my friends and I was like I could not handle it and I just broke down severely and
Oh wow.
yeah, I think yeah, like a part of it is recognizing some of the things in me that don't work, but things that I need to address and like you said, it's a lifelong journey. Part of life is acknowledging things inside you and fixing it. And it's not exactly something that can just be done for good.
Mm. I think it was quite recent, like a few days ago. I was talking to a friend of mine um, about, say, like problem A, and then I discovered that the actual problem was that I just felt awfully, I don't know, like really badly ugly. But I tried to tackle that from the perspective of what the Bible says about the appearance and a human being. And I experienced like a sense of ease after reflecting deep into them. And I feel more free from the judgment and the standards of the society. Although like it is it is a back and forth thing. Like I would, if I take 2 steps forward, I go back a step. Um, and it would just kind of be like that until I really uh, until I really shed off the old ways of seeing myself.
It sounds like something of a revolutionary concept.
Yeah, because I lived all my life looking at myself from the perspective of the world, that the ways the Bible advocates to see oneself is very different, as in like it is no, well, not like in a bad way, but like more in a more loving way, and it is like I would love to live in that perspective, but it does definitely take time to really simmer that into the way I think.
I mean, for me, like you said, the idea of thinking in on myself is revolutionary. Looking inward for yourself, but also trying to find people and reaching out. Um, Perhaps this is me speaking from my own personal background, but I find that people struggle especially with trying to talk to other people about their issues, especially like you said, issues of mental health and stress and not feeling comfortable with yourself. And more so, yeah, and more so going to say like you said a church or maybe like a support group and opening up.
Yeah, there is like it's scary definitely because um, to open up and be rejected is really hurting. But once I trust a person enough, then um, yeah.
once you take that leap of faith and you trust someone, you it there's this like I describe it somewhat like a button that clicks, and you suddenly feel as if your stress is just gone. I mean, I personally feel that whenever I'm engaging in like church stuff or that's like a feeling where I'm listening to a song, maybe it's a worship song where I'm just silent and regardless of whatever it is, something just maybe like in a church hymn just speaks to me and I just get the sense of something personal is affecting me and like in a calming way.
Like that all you experience.
Yeah. I mean, sort of like, well, it's very physical for me. So when sometimes when I like feel calmness or stillness, I get these things sort of like I feel like people would say sort of akin to going high. Weird description, but sort of like you just feel calm, like your senses sort of die down, breathing slows down. You can feel like both a weight being lifted off of you, but also something coming down and just like comforting you.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have that experience, but um, I admire that.
What's it like for you, when you experience the feelings of calmness and at peace?
I think it was yesterday. I was just pulling out um, like Bible verses about that directly has the word love in them, and I think it was nearly towards the end. Like after reading all those verses, I I just kind of realized how much I am loved and how deep the love is and how unconditional the love that comes from God is. And I think like I felt an immense excitement slash peace slash just like I felt so beloved, and that was a great feeling.
And unconditional love, yeah. That is such a rare thing, I think, nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
Perhaps it's just the society we live in, but we tend to think in terms of, well, I guess from, like, out of insecurity, we think, oh, because someone, let's say X loves me for this particular reason. And yeah, the idea of someone just going, "Oh, I'll love you unconditionally. There's nothing you need to do." I think personally, it takes time for me to wash away that.
Yeah, like that voice telling you that you're
I
never
would say like
enough.
paranoia inside me. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are times where I have obviously had these thoughts going in my head and circulating, especially like when I'm alone or I spend so much time working that people I might not see people as much. Voices in the back of my head. What can I say? But when I go to like the, go to church or like just sit down and be alone with myself, the idea of unconditional love just watches over me.
It's a great feeling.
I think that's also helped me personally as well to sort of go out and I feel like when you obviously when you've been in that spot and you come out, I find it helps me when I am on like the receiving end of trying to reach out to people and hearing their problems because I think the old saying, you can't learn to love someone until you know what it's like to be loved. And it's especially hard when you yourself don't know what a true relationship feels like, and in a way that can calm yourself.
Mm, definitely. Also, if I've never experienced the, I mean, I will never experience fully, but if I've not even experienced a little, I have like the unconditional love. I don't think I would have been able to love anyone like properly. I mean, God knows what, but like it would have been very difficult to tolerate a lot of people.
Everyone has a breaking point,
Yeah.
and whether or not when that breaking point is, I don't know, and I think perhaps it's best that I don't know. I think having that lifeline, like both God coming down and just like giving you I say this like in a in a light mode, but almost like giving a cat a pat on the head. It's like and like just purring softly.
mm,
But
yeah.
yeah, I found what happens when I over the course of my three years as a student, I've had cyclical episodes where it goes to half term, burnout, goes to December, I'm really energized. February, then March, I go low again, and then June and July, I enter stages of I did everything and I'm set for the year, and then I go into September and October and just starts all over again. So it's been really helpful for me to have just dedicate myself to a routine where I can know that I am loved and there is obviously a God that's personal. Not like the I'm flying spaghetti
Oh
monster that
God, yeah.
runs around, go like, "Woo, I'm here, but also not here." But no, but like someone who just comes out, like walks with you and just look and sits down with you and is like, "How are you?"
Also, like, because each person is different, the God I know must be slightly different from the God you know. And like we bring like each of our interpretation together to kind of draw the bigger picture almost.
What's your interpretation of God like? What do you envision of him when he like gives like talks to you and comforts you?
That he is gentle and kind and sweet, but at times I can't really understand what's going on. But like I know that he is compassionate and knows how I'm feeling and who I was and who I am now.
I think for me, it's like the idea of yeah, almost like a father figure, having that fatherly support. It helps. I think, especially now in this day and age, dads are hard to come by, and for a father to sit down, I think yeah, so like a gentle, kind person or God who sits down and listens to me. But I think also for me in my case, it's a lot more firm because if I go off the deep end, God will be the first one to be like, okay, stop.
Fair.
You know.
Yeah, like that's what I meant. Like the God you experience and how he speaks to you is slightly more firm than perhaps how I experience him or how he speaks.
Yeah, I mean, I get frustrated at times, of course. I'm like, why can't I do this or why are you doing this? It takes me a bit of a while because I think what I've realized is that there are many things that I do want,
Mm.
but there's things I might not really need. And sometimes that conflicts because I might end up doing something that turns around and completely destroys my life. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like I could throw a temper tantrum or just run away from home, like because I want to do that when I'm insecure, but I can't really do that, and it will be highly disastrous for me, for of course multiple
Yeah,
reasons.
fair.
Yeah, for me personally, it as an art student, while I'm going through all these cycles of stress and reassurance and love, it as an art student, it's affected my work personally. Like yesterday, last year, I did an entire. I wanted to talk about the idea of having the idea of peace and calmness, whatever God people might think it is. And when I made a documentary about it, and people who were willing to share their testimonies of what God was like to them, or how they experience, you know, calmness and the idea that even though it's a chaotic world, things can be fine.
I don't always project something directly Christian in my art, but as long as it aligns with what the Bible talks about, I I include them in my work.
The last thing we want to do is ramming down people's throats.
Oh gosh,
That's like the
yeah.
that's something we really don't want to do.
No,
You
that's
know.
not what Jesus would have done anyway. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do like okay, how should I phrase this? Okay, like sometimes I just want people to take away even just a little bit of what the Bible talks about like they don't have to accept like they don't have to take on whatever I believe in, but I just still want them to find freedom in the little areas of their lives. And I want to help them with all I can. And what I have probably the most is, yeah, like the way, like, cause the way I live it, whether like, I think it kind of revolves a lot around what the Bible says, and um, yeah, I try to just sort of kind of pass that on, like my ways of views to other people. When, because I still get um, overwhelmed by religious languages from time to time, but I still try to make it reflect what the Bible says. Um, yeah, and because it can be a little bit overpowering to some people, including myself.
There's always that one thing that smacks you over the head, and you just think, I am not okay for this.
Yeah.
I think people definitely do need a little bit of that knowledge that they are loved, and there is always someone out there who is willing to care for you and look for you
Yeah.
and look after for you.
Like that, even if everyone abandons you for whatever the reason, that there will be that one last person or the being who will still say, like, you are lovable as who you are right now.
Yeah. And I think especially nowadays it's even more strong. People definitely need like let's be honest, 2020 has not exactly been the best year ever. There are multiple. I think people do need to realize that there is things of it is possible for someone or something to just love you unconditionally, and you don't have to have that fear and abandonment. It's a hard. It will take time, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's what can fuel us. We humans are social creatures, and we want to interact with people and be with people. Any final thoughts that you have?
I think listening to my body senses a lot, that has helped. Like, I used to do things, or even if I didn't really want to do them, out of fear, like fear of failure and just fear of getting doomed. Um, but like now I do less of that. Like I try to, like, if something's boring, like when I have to, well, like everyone has to read for their degree, and I used to read things although I really didn't enjoy them. And now, like when whatever the material I'm reading is boring for me for whatever the reason, I just leave it there and try to find something else. Um, and I, like, before I used to think that me not enjoying something was invalid, or me enjoying something else was also invalid. But now, like, I don't think that way. Um, I just fully sort of trust that I don't enjoy a certain thing because God made me to not enjoy them, and I just try to find something else that I uh, that I like doing more. Just trusting God that He will make me. I don't. Yeah, these days I try to just focus on and do more of the things that I enjoy doing, trusting God that He made me to enjoy them, and and only I can enjoy them in the way that I do. And yeah, I think also like the sense of trust in God in the way He created me. I think that is a huge factor in mental health, definitely.
Thank you so much for willing to come and just chat on the CU podcast. Yeah,
No, it's okay. Thank you so much for hosting me.
yeah, no worries. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening as well,
Thank you
wherever
so
you guys are.
much.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.